He is, without any argument, the greatest Olympian who has ever lived. 23 gold medals, 28 in total, more than most entire nations have won in their history. Across 4 different Olympic Games, Michael Phelps didn't just win, he dominated in a way no athlete in any sport ever had. He was a machine built for gold, seemingly untouchable, superhuman. The perfect story of the perfect champion. Except almost none of it was what it looked like. Because at the very peak of all that glory medals around his neck, the whole world chanting his name, Michael Phelps, has admitted that he was, in his own words, in a very dark place. After one of those Olympics, he shut himself in a room, alone, and for days he did not come out. And he has said it as plainly as a person can say it, he did not want to be alive. The most successful athlete in human history, sitting in the dark, wishing it would all just stop. Because behind every one of those 23 gold medals was something he hid for most of his career. And what finally pulled him out of that dark room was not another race, not another record, not another medal. It was something he'd spent his whole life refusing. Stay with me, because this is the part of the greatest sports story ever told that nobody put on the highlight reel. Before we go back to the start, subscribe if you like the stories behind the legends. To understand the darkness, you have to start with the boy. Growing up near Baltimore, young Michael was diagnosed with ADHD in the 6th grade. He couldn't sit still, couldn't focus in class, and he has said a teacher once told him he would never amount to anything. His parents divorced when he was a kid, and his relationship with his father became distant and painful. But there was one place where the chaos in his head went quiet: the water. Remember that the pool was the only place he ever felt in control. On land, he was a restless, struggling kid who'd been told he'd never be anything. In the water, he was about to become the greatest of all time. And for a long time, that would be both his salvation and his trap. Because in the water, nothing could touch him. At just 15, he became the youngest male American swimmer at an Olympics in 68 years. Then came the avalanche: Athens, Beijing, London, Rio. In Beijing alone, he won 8 gold medals at a single Games, a record many thought would never be broken. 23 golds in total. His face was everywhere. He was the definition of success, the human being millions of kids taped to their walls. From the outside, Michael Phelps had the most complete, most triumphant career any athlete had ever had. But the higher the medals piled up, the more a terrible pattern was hiding underneath them, a pattern almost no one saw. Because here's what the cameras never showed. After each Olympics, once the racing stopped and the crowds went home, Michael Phelps would crash hard. He has described it as a post-Olympic depression, years of everything building to a single moment, and then, suddenly, emptiness. The question that haunts so many champions: I did the thing I was built for, so now what? Who am I? He felt lost, anxious, hollow. And instead of talking about it, he did what he'd always done. He buried it, he hid it, he kept the superhuman mask on for the world. But you can only outrun that for so long. And in 2014, it finally caught him. In 2014, Phelps was arrested for driving under the influence not for the first time. It made headlines, it brought shame, and it dropped him into the lowest point of his entire life. And this is where the real story lives. Because that arrest wasn't the disease. It was a symptom of everything he'd been drowning in, quietly, for years: the depression, the emptiness, the sense that all the gold in the world hadn't fixed whatever was broken inside. The most decorated Olympian in history was, at that moment, a man who had run completely out of road. After that arrest, Michael Phelps went into his room, shut the door, and stayed there. He has said he didn't leave for days, not eating, not sleeping properly, not wanting to see anyone. And in that room, the greatest champion the Olympics had ever produced sat with the darkest thought a person can have, that he did not want to be alive anymore. Sit with how staggering that is. Everything the world tells us should make a person happy: success, fame, money, being literally the best on earth at what you do. He had all of it, more than anyone. And in that dark room, none of it was enough to make him want to stay. That is how depression works. It does not care what's on your shelf. But he did come out of that room. Barely, but he did. And what saved him was the one thing the toughest competitor on earth had spent his whole life avoiding. He asked for help. He checked himself into a treatment center, and he started going to therapy. He began, slowly, to talk about the ADHD, the absent father, the emptiness, the thoughts he'd never said out loud. He has since said, simply, that therapy saved his life. The man who could out-train and out-suffer any athlete alive discovered that his real strength wasn't in the pool at all. It was in finally admitting he couldn't do it alone. So here is what we all suspected, and what he has now made the whole point of his life. Remember how we started the boy told he'd never amount to anything, the pool as the only place he felt in control? The truth is that the 23 gold medals were never the happy ending. They couldn't reach the thing that actually hurt. What changed Michael Phelps wasn't winning, it was surviving, and then turning around to help everyone still stuck in that dark room. Today, he says something that would sound impossible from the greatest competitor ever, that winning a gold medal is far less important than having the chance to save a life. He built a foundation, he tells his story on the biggest stages in the world, and he has quietly become one of the most important voices for mental health on the planet. The medals made him famous. What he did after the dark room is what actually made him great. So, did you know what was hiding behind all that gold? Tell me in the comments. And subscribe, because next time we go behind the curtain on another legend, the world only thinks it knows. And if any of this sounded like you, please talk to someone. You're not alone.